So welcome back to episode 6 of the Lockdown Podcast, folks. Continuing on with our club focus team. I had the OGs wheelchair basketball within Northern Ireland on last week. Sorry, I can nearly speak. With the Knights Wheelchair Basketball Club and big Neil Carline. And James is giving the fist pump, rightly so. This week, we will be focusing on our newest members, our newest club within Northern Irish Wheelchair Basketball, the Bangor Bulls, and we're joined by club chairman, Michael O'Brien. So welcome, Michael. Thanks very much for coming on, dude.
How are you, Joe?
Yeah, all good, all good. And as per usual, before we get started, Michael, we usually do like a bit of a kind of weekly roundup before we get started. And also we'll have our usual suspects as well. So we've got our elite bowler down here in the corner with James Mack, our GB and NI International pro bowler. And then we'll have our club development officer, Danny Cooper. So thanks again, guys. It's always a pleasure to have everybody on, really. So we'll do a bit of a weekly roundup, guys. Tell me, what have you all been at? So James, what's been the crack this week?
Well, we spoke a couple of days ago here. As people will find out, people will have found out by the time this podcast comes out, we had to redo last week's one. So we spoke on Monday morning, and then Phil, as you know, Monday night we spent watching video of the European Championship men's final with a group of the younger lads in the sort of the what would you call it? What's the program? Is it the regional program, or
it's kind of like the under 25 group, I suppose? So like a pathway.
Yes, so
group.
we got a group of those lads together, watched a basketball game together, and the plan was for everyone to just sort of say what they see, talk a bit, and try and keep people thinking about basketball. But they probably just went to bed hearing my voice because I was just chatting nonsense the whole time. So that was a lot of fun. And I think what I really did yesterday was I had a training session, like a circuit session with GB that completely ruined my day. Like I did that sort of early-ish, and I couldn't move for the rest of the day. I was just done. So that was a bit of a laugh. Apart from that, I'm just enjoying being able to get out and about and sort of dander around the beach now, which is nice. The lockdown's been eased ever so slightly. It's been good to see a lot of people out. That is the only thing. So it's still a bit stressful, but we try and find the right times. Like I went and I got on a court at 7 a.m. outdoors just to try and get some shots up when no one was around. And that's really the only time you can do it if you go at 7 a.m. or 10:30 at night. But yeah, just trying to keep moving, keep seeing, keep taking over.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, James, I have a lot of learning to do in terms of like hosting one of those meetings, as we all know. So yeah, it was good. It was good. Cheers for coming on and talking us through some of the games and some of the stuff that was going on, and good knowledge for the guys coming through. Danny, what's been going on with you at your gaff?
Yeah, I suppose I mention every week the club's doing some good stuff. So I'm working with those guys, commit meetings, online videos, all that kind of stuff. Say the same every week because they are working. I'm doing some really cool stuff. So that's been nice. From a personal point of view, I presume we've all been doing Zoom quizzes and that kind of thing. Well, I was absolutely robbed of one on Saturday night, which I'm not holding a grudge, but it is now Wednesday and I'm still thinking about it. I know, absolutely. So, listen, there's a group of 7 friends of us, and we are literally like Friends, the TV series. Brilliant. I love them all. But I'm 100% going to pick this Great Worm because it was a mastermind theme, so you had to pick a specialist subject. So mine was European capital cities. So all day revising. I know most of them. Revising. So and then Judy's got a topic as well, so she's not saying anything. We're not talking to each other. And yeah, it was interesting because question 1 was who invented Eurovision? I went, what? And the question 2 was, can you name the nuclear program that the EU run? I was like, what's going on here? So my topic became Europe, which was the most random and wide-ranging topic in the world. So yeah, guys who will definitely listen to this, you definitely don't be moving. Judith Sound of Music now, she got 10 out of 10 and won the whole thing. So this household was absolutely destroyed by that moment in time. So that was not very good. And ironically, obviously, I mentioned Friends, the TV series. Phil, I know you've got a bit of a Ross Geller thing going off. There's definitely a correlation going on, you know. Last thing, I know Phil, you're going to probably touch on this, but obviously our Belfast Telegraph piece this week was pretty cool. So, yeah, good week all round, apart from obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers, Danny. Cheers. And do you know what? I'm glad Judith won. I'm glad Judith won. Just there. Big Mike,
Harsh.
how's it been going for you?
Yeah, all good. I some of you are aware I broke my elbow a fortnight ago, so I'm trying to do as much rehab as I can in the house. Physio isn't available at the moment, so I'm just doing as much as I can. Yeah, I've got a 5-year-old, so doing homeschooling, baking for the first time. So yeah, loads of new stuff, but good stuff at the same time.
Yeah. Is he bringing the fire with a bacon? What anything nice being produced?
Oh, yeah, all good. Done a Victoria sponge the other day. More like a brick than a Victoria sponge. But you know, it's all a learning curve. You know, we've got loads of time to correct it. So by the time this is all over, we'll have a perfect Victoria sponge to drop around to the rest of the clubs.
Happy days.
Happy days. You heard that, clubs? That a Victoria sponge coming your way. We haven't got past Rice Crosby buns, but that maybe sums our whole household up. But
you don't need to. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like,
yeah, no, 100%. A Rice Crispy bun or a 15, unbelievable. But as Danny touched upon, so cheers, Michael. I can vouch for that. We've got a 6-year-old boy in the house, and we're homeschooling as well. And it is absolutely hilarious because, as I've said this before, he's definitely smarter than I will ever be at this age even. So it's really, really cool to see them progressing. Yeah, but Danny's already touched upon it. I just wanted to give a bit of a shout out to Adam McKendry at the Belfast Telegraph for kind of shining a bit of a light on what we're doing with the podcast, but as well as from a wider perspective within the sport of wheelchair basketball and then disability sport NI. So cheers for that, Adam. It was really, really much appreciated. And hopefully listening to me for, 40 minutes on the phone didn't destroy your day too much, mate. So cheers for that, dude. But guys, listen, thanks for sharing things that are going on in the week. And I suppose that's the end of the kind of weekly roundup. And we'll be moving into our club intro now. So Michael, I've been known to slip up in this area. So please, if I miss anything out or I say anything that isn't true, then give me a shout, okay? Yeah. So club intro, Bangor Bulls was established in September 2019. Club coaches are Luke Marshall and Kenny Murphy. The club has 17 players in the books. Think about that, guys, whenever you're thinking about the months that Michael's been in as chairman. Competition, you're registered for the 2021 Northern Ireland League season. Sponsor to be sorted out for that. Keep your ears open for that. Training and home playing venue is the Bangor Aurora. Have I done a good job? Yes or no, boys?
You have indeed. All good.
Yes, that's 2 out of 2, lads. I'm telling you.
But 2 out of 6.
Not that I told you all that information about half an hour ago before this. Like,
listen,
and not that I ratified that information as well.
Exactly. Listen, I have to go through a refinement process before I get to this. Danny feeds into me, and then I have to feed into you. Then I go back to Danny, and then I speak to everybody. So yeah,
it's like a fine whiskey. Is that refined?
It's like a WhatsApp group for a WhatsApp group for a WhatsApp group.
Yeah,
100%.
Best thing is Phil's just waiting for you to tell him that he's got it wrong, so he can be like, "Well, you gave that information."
That's it. Yeah. No, that was on you. But listen, the club sounds like it's going in the right direction anyway. And it's brilliant to have you guys on board. And you're such a new growing, sort of massively growing club, to be honest with you. But besides that point, so Michael, I suppose my first question is, how did you get involved in the sport of wheelchair basketball?
Danny Cooper.
Yeah.
I'd say about 90% of the people that come on will have the same answer.
Yeah, Danny gave me a ring and told me about the club, his plans for the club and plans for the league that was being set up. We're the 5th team within the league, starting up in September, hopefully, if everything goes to plan. And one more club in the making, hopefully. Really, really well set up league and real positive things coming from that.
Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. And in terms of the sport, because Danny does an unbelievable job as club development officer and just all around anything wheelchair basketball in Northern Ireland. He's all over like a rash. So we're not really thankful for when we have him. I just described you as a rash, bro. Sorry about that.
But it's possibly not the worst thing that's ever been called.
It comes from a loving place anyway. But you know, in terms of the sport itself, what drew you towards the sport of wheelchair basketball?
Yeah, so I became an amputee in 2017. There wasn't really much out there for amputees as in sport or getting back into sport, especially in a team environment. Tried a few other things before the wheelchair basketball, and Danny informed me that he was thinking of setting one up in Bangor, and we went down, had a trial day, and it worked out really well. It's been onwards and upwards from that.
Yeah.
We've got a really, really good committee, really positive committee, and really proactive committee. And everybody is doing their roles really well, and we're knitting really well together.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And in terms of like, so whenever you came to the sport of wheelchair basketball, you were explaining to me you had before, you know, we got online, that you had a bit of a rugby background. Would you say that wheelchair basketball kind of attracted you due to your kind of like sporting background to a certain extent?
Yeah, I played at school level, quite high for in rugby, and it was great to have that sort of environment again, the camaraderie.
Yeah.
As I said, everybody's getting on really well together, and we're just trying to grow it bigger and bigger and bigger. Sometimes that can be difficult because of chairs, but I think from listening to all the other chairmen within all the clubs, everybody's on the same boat. But isn't it great to have too many than too little? You know, and I think everybody would be in the same agreement to that.
Yeah, 100%. The growth in the sport's been massive, and it's largely down to the work that Danny's been doing from a club development perspective, and then everybody within the wheelchair basketball community has really, really got behind the league and the new structure. We're up to 5 clubs now, and then obviously having the original kind of team with the Knights as well, being able to get on board with that as well, and kind of like share the love to a certain extent, you know what I mean? So it's been really, really positive over the last 2-year period to see so many clubs that have been come from fledgling up into strong, well organised and well governed clubs. So it's been really positive from my standpoint to see the growth within the sport up to now. But from a personal perspective, would you say that getting involved with a club, the bit that kind of interested me whenever I was speaking to you earlier was, like, from a rehab perspective, you mentioned that you had an injury. From a rehab perspective, did the sport help you in any way from a physical and a mental well-being standpoint in terms of getting back involved with sport?
I think probably for me it was probably more for a mental side of things. Gives me having this something to concentrate on, something to focus on really. And it's that whole, every Friday night training, it was something to look forward to and being proud of.
Yeah.
The top that I'm wearing, I'm proud to wear the top. It's it took a couple of weeks to decide, the colours, the name, but it's what we're all proud of and what we're all proud to wear.
Definitely.
Well,
Yeah, 100%.
That's brilliant. That's cool. That's cool to hear. I think I do this every week. I'm just like, so cool to hear, But it really is, because just I think what you said in terms of the committee coming together and progress you've made. If you consider September 2019, as Phil said, within that you've had a Christmas break, coronavirus break, and the club's got to where it's at. Anyway, it just shows how much progress it's made. And actually, if you look at it in terms of, sometimes it's hard to see what progress you've made until you stop, pause, and actually look back and go, flip, we've come from this point, we're now at this point. It's incredible. I think actually that's what this break's allowed clubs to do, is to go, wow, from that first night I'm now sat here in a club jersey, whatever, badge, whatever it is. Brilliant, fantastic. So to put a positive spin on a lockdown, which obviously can be tough at times, certainly. That's kind of the other angle of it, I guess, Phil.
Yeah, no,
even sorry, Phil, even to come back on that, I'm getting messages from, club members, thanking the club for all the support that they're getting, so we're like a family as well, which is great.
Awesome.
Can I just ask, and this might be a question for either Michael or Danny, how does a club go from September 2019 to now and pick up, was it 17 players? Like, what's the actual process for that? I obviously, I wasn't around for the start of nights. I've never joined a club just as it started kicking off. So I have no idea what that's like, because I assumed most clubs are like, all right, cool, day one. Oh, we've got 4 people in the door, happy days. Like, I have no idea how that works. So I don't know which one of you is in the best position to answer that, or both, I guess.
Can I answer that, Danny?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, of course.
I think, James, the problem was that there was nothing really out there before, especially in Bangor, and also for amputees. Quite most of our club members are amputees, and there hasn't been anything being put in place in the past, and they're wanting to get back into sport, get back into some level of fitness, and we provide that, and yeah, it's working out really well. I think. What do you think, Danny?
No, I think it's very true. Obviously for the Bulls, I think on more of a kind of a lighter scale. If you look at the other clubs and things like that, I think it's not just one thing; it's a combination of things. But I think one thing I definitely would pick up on, and we've kind of discussed it a little bit already. I think people buying into the vision is so key, so key. And probably a good example of this is right at the start with the Wolves. If you take that, for example, their first night, you were trying to say to them, look, there's a club in Belfast that everyone knows about. We're going to do something similar here, but there's no proof that it's worked elsewhere outside of the nights. So you've got to buy into what I'm saying and kind of trust it as it's going to happen. Obviously, naturally, the further you go on that journey, you've got more examples to fall back on and go, look. So when it came to Michael's club, you could go, look at the Wolves, Knights, Wolves, Giants, Lakers. You're going to be the fifth in that kind of piece, that jigsaw. So I suppose that side of it, the other side of it, which we've talked about a bit on the podcast, is that training for training's sake. If we can keep things fresh, which I think myself and Phil are really keen to do and be able to do, keep things fresh all the time, so adding something new. So you're not just coming, playing the same league, playing the same players. There's always a different tweak and a different kind of angle to it, whether it's a 3 versus 3 variation or whatever. If we can keep doing that and providing, for making sure the thing remains shiny and interesting, then we should have that buy-in. So the number one key ingredient, I'd say, is probably that buy-in from people. That's huge credit to everybody who's bought into my rubbish over the last couple of years, and obviously it does require a lot of people to pull together. A lot of people, committees, coaches, players, everyone pulls together, and you do see that on the game day when everyone's in one venue. That's that pulling together in a physical representation. So, yeah.
I suppose I've got a question, Michael. So obviously you've come in new to the sport, having not played the sport or experienced, basketball. How did it kind of lead to becoming chairman of the club?
Getting stroked for it probably would come to mind. Yeah, it's a big learning curve for me, but a learning curve that I'm enjoying. But I've got a good team around me, and a positive team around me, and they come together really well. But also to say about that is, I'm also getting the support from the other chairman, because it's been a gradual, progression within the league. I'm learning from their mistakes. I'm getting advice from them. We can do it a different way, from the experiences that they've had in the past, which, is good for us, because they've had that mistake and we can learn from it,
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like we've used that word a fair bit, like kind of refinement again. And I suppose that's a perfect word for it, isn't it? You guys have come in kind of last, and moving up through that kind of rank and learning from people's different mistakes and journeys as well can be critical. But I suppose, like, one thing that jumped out at me there and jumped out across all of the club focuses is about that community feel. And I suppose that lends itself to the community feel. And me and James and Danny were talking about that last week with Neil, about the community feel whenever people get involved with competition and travel to different venues and so on. But it's good to hear from a chairman's perspective, from an operational perspective, that you guys are doing something similar. You're always chatting, you're always coming up with ideas, and the sport's a living, breathing thing. And that is probably the proudest thing, that when me and Danny sit down and talk, that's probably the proudest thing that Danny, has to say. It's a living, breathing thing, and we don't have full control the whole time over it, which is amazing. But the other question I had was, what kind of, obviously as chairman, you've played a large part in the kind of like environment and the feel of the club. Can you describe that to us? Because we've talked about that, across various different clubs.
Well, I think bringing in Brian Phillips and to do the media has made a big positive difference to the club. I think we've got the most likes, and within all the other clubs within Northern Ireland in the league.
Yeah.
And we're putting out a positive spin on the Bangor Bulls, on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I think that was a big turning curve, for the Bangor Bulls. And yeah, and all I can give Brian is praise for doing that. He's done a great job on that. But everybody's been doing their bit, and yeah, and I think it was as well, that Danny helped us at the start, was picking the right people for the right job.
Yeah.
And that's made a real positive take on it all.
There's possibly two things, if I don't mind, if I can add. First thing is, I've never seen a group of people pull together so quickly. Actually, the committee was, I kind of got it in my head in a timescale of roughly on average where this kind of comes in. The polls were well early in that. Well early.
I think it was 24 hours.
Yeah,
we had the committee back to you.
Is that where the stroke comes in, Michael? Is that where the stroke comes in?
No, it was. Honestly, it was. It was. You're talking really early days. Maybe it wasn't even up a month, and people were asking me what's going to happen with this. How do we make this sustainable? So the first part of it is a group of people, and I think the committee's seven strong. Everyone just went, I'll have a bit of this. I'll contribute to this, even if it's for a year, if it's for 6 months. I'll guide this through the first period. Obviously, as we all know, committees change and evolve over time, and I have no doubt it will be the same in every club. The second part of that is for the polls, and this is from an outside looking in. Every single person in that club committee and also in the club want exactly the same thing, which is a team in their area to go to and to compete with and to represent. And that's why, the colours blue and yellow. They wanted to represent the town. That's Bangor Town's colourage, So there's that feel. When I look in, I ever see a group of people, whether it's at committee level or whether it's at player level, I see at coach level, we're looking Kenny. They want something there to build towards, and it might be everyone's got different ways of doing it, but every single person wants the same thing, which is phenomenal. It really is.
I think as well, Danny, that when we start competing, in September, it'll put a whole new spin onto the club, a whole new spin, and everybody is is looking forward to that so much. I think we're from the talk of the club, we're panicking that we're not getting any practice sessions within our practice games, because we want to be as top as we can be, to be the best we can be.
Well, it's funny because me and James talked about this last week, and James, I've already kind of mentioned yourself here, mate, but we talked about training for training's sake. Actually, at the minute, the Bulls are probably the only club that are doing that, purely because September's not here for the league, and that's because of coronavirus. Is that going to be pushed back? Look, we don't know. But yeah, so that's quite interesting. I know me and you spoke about this, James, in terms of the training for training's sake and the competition. It will change the Bulls, won't it? It will give them a different slant, I think.
Absolutely. I think I've said a couple of times, there is such a difference between, even if you're coaching players or if you're a player yourself, thinking, okay, well, I need to keep this ball over here. That's the example I use. Like, okay, I need to put this dribble here because coach has told me I need to do that. And that's the right thing to do. It's kind of a weird, intangible, abstract thing. Whereas I need to put this ball right here when I dribble, or I need to be able to do this with my left hand because if I don't, someone's going to take this off me. You're getting closer. And then when you go back in, do you train on Friday, did you say?
Yeah, Friday evenings.
You come in a Friday evening and you go, I need to learn to be able to do this with my left hand because last Saturday or whenever the league games are, I tried to do this on my right hand when a defender was there and they just took it off me and it cost the team 2 points. Like it really sort of, it puts it in context and it kind of makes it a more tangible thing to actually have something to move towards. And obviously you can kind of half recreate that in training with competitive small-sided games and just a competitive culture, but I don't think there's any substitute for really the complete black and white feedback that playing a game and having something not go well gives you.
Yeah, 100%, James. I would agree with you there. And the other thing that I was going to the next question, I suppose it leads on to nicely from within the chat is James will be very aware that the importance of, a coaching culture within that kind of group and coaches being able to help shape the environment. You've obviously got two kind of new coaches to a certain extent, or experienced players but new to coaching with Luke Marshall and Kenny Murphy. How have those guys been in terms of shaping the on-floor culture? So we've talked a lot about the presence of the Bulls, and you've done an incredible job. I think you've over 800 kind of like followers on Facebook and stuff like that. So like between player recruitment, your social media presence, but what's the on the floor stuff like? What's the training environment like, and how have Kenny and Luke kind of shaped that?
Yeah, really positive. They spin off each other really well. But it's a learning curve for all of us, and they're getting better, every week. The thing that we need to look at in the next few months, when the lockdown, stops, is probably looking at maybe a junior side of the club, and having a senior side. But that's all something that needs to be discussed on how to progress the club further. And we need to look at maybe extending the sessions. It's only an hour session every Friday evening, but
yeah,
that's all stuff that needs to be looked at and addressed.
Yeah, no, 100%. So from an environment point of view, if you were looking at we were talking about the Northern Ireland League and the inclusion of next year, what are your kind of like aims and objectives from within that? Have you discussed that sort of stuff, or have you got that kind of like from a personal perspective or a team group perspective? Have you been talking about those types of things?
No, not really. So the coaches haven't picked the team yet. That's all going to be discussed in the next few weeks. That's something that needs to be looked at. So,
I think there's a point to jump on there, probably going back a step or two, which was you said about coaches learning, you're learning. Actually, that's just a sport wide. Referees are learning, self and Phil are learning. Everybody's learning. I actually think sports people involved in sport actually don't ever want to stop learning, which is one thing that's come out. Actually, I've interviewed James, I've seen you do. You never, even when you get, there is no top. It keeps topping up and topping up and topping up, And I think that's the nice thing at the minute is everybody's learning. Table official clubs and all different ways. Trevor Lucy's thing. If you look at it from a timescale point of view, the Wolves are the second oldest. The 28 years behind the first oldest, the second oldest. But actually, his phrase is, we're still a new club. It's absolutely true. They're still learning, So it's a completely kind of normal thing across the country. Certainly.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. As I said, they're working, breathing things, and each of the clubs are going to be in different kind of like footings within that kind of structure. But it's exciting to hear that teams are now starting to look at the league and plan for it and say, right, okay, that's going to be the next stage of our development almost. James, from your point of view, would you have any kind of like wise words or words of wisdom for Luke and Kenny? Obviously, you would have played with them. They both came from the Knights Wheelchair Basketball Club, and they were part of the Northern Ireland program as well. Would you have any sort of words of wisdom for them from a coaching perspective and building towards the league?
First thing I would say to all of the Bangor Bulls is you've got two good ones there, two very good guys, two people who I really, really, really like, who I think care about basketball, and that's gonna absolutely show in the coaching. I'm a player. I'm not a coach. Is the first thing. But what I would say, in my experience of having been coached by some very good coaches and played with very good players, is I think, although I said having the game there is going to be really good for you guys, it's still very much, when you're talking about development, it's about the process rather than the outcome. So, like, I came back over Christmas and I was coaching a night's training session, and I was like, one of the drills we were running was about a skill, but it was like shooting at the end. And I was like, my point was, remember, we're not, like, you don't get anything out of this by winning the drill, really. You get a whole lot out of this by doing everything right. Like, so I'd say for them too, the most important thing is when they're coaching to try and consider the process of everything they're doing, what they're actually trying to get out of the sessions. And obviously, if a player has that in mind as well, they can't really go too far wrong. Like, if you're working on, okay, I'm going to dribble left this way and then take a shot, you're working on, okay, the first skill is dribble with my left hand. The second thing is I'm working on moving my chair. And then when I get there, I'm working on the finish. Like, so yeah, process basically. Until the sort of higher competitive levels, it's about process more than it is about outcome, is the only one bit of advice. Phil's far more developed in understanding coaching than I am. So Phil, you're probably better to talk about this than I am, but that's what I've gotten. I've been around a lot of very smart people, and that's what I've been able to steal, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, James. 100%. I don't think we need to overly complicate it for like coaching language and things like that. But when it's kind of like condensed form, that's exactly what it is. That's the best way to start. You know, build on the foundation that you have, and then trying to learn through experience and keep developing those skill sets so that it's again a refinement process. But that's something that I still do with the Northern Ireland guys. There's no pressure on us to go and win a game. It's more, am I looking at, has that guy took a left-hand dribble going to the basket? You know, if the defender's on his right-hand side. So they're the small things that we're trying to really knuckle down and work on with players. And I'm sure you will get that with Luke and Kenny, you know, in the future, because they've came up through that pathway as well. I suppose another question I kind of had for you was from, obviously you guys have been about, you know, from September 2019, and you've kind of seen the league develop a little and came along and seen some different games. What's the outsiders kind of perspective at the moment, you know, in terms of the Northern Ireland League that was, you know, sponsored by Perennials?
So I've been down to two matches, game days, and seen the way, you know, it's being run. And I've spoke to, you know, other committee members and stuff from other clubs. Really positive, and good learning days for me to see how it's all being run and how it's, you know, how professional it is. And the, you know, the spectators is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But yeah, really positive. And, you know, and I know Danny's been away and visiting other countries and seeing how they're doing it, and he's taking that on board. And if it becomes like that, it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
And I think we're all hoping that it'll be like that one day in Northern Ireland, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be unbelievable, because James, obviously you're playing in Spain at the moment at, you know, top level basketball, and you know it'll be many a year before Northern Ireland gets to that. But has it, from another outsider's perspective, has it been cool to watch the development of the kind of league to a certain extent and see things on social media and maybe talk to some of the players that have been experiencing the NI League?
Well, it's been class. Like, and if you think wheelchair basketball is a relatively young sport, like even the best teams in the best league in the world were amateur 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Like, I don't exactly know when specifically money started getting involved, for example. So then the better players came, but like, that was like yeah, that wasn't that long ago if you compare it to sort of mainstream able-bodied sports. So like, there's not as much catching up to do, and it's been absolutely class to see. Like, obviously, I had a lot of cool memories as a junior growing up, traveling across to England, but you don't have to do that anymore to get good quality basketball, and that's really, really exciting. Like, I just remember we had little glimpses of different domestic things. Like, I know when Knights was the only club around when I was a kid, they put together like an in-house league where they divided all the seniors and juniors together and played against each other. And I remember thinking, this is class. Like, I'm getting good basketball and I only have to get out of my bed an hour before it's, you know what I mean? Like, this is brilliant. I'm only down the road. Like,
No
and
more
just, I
5
could just
a.m. flights, mate.
no, still plenty of those, but not for that, thank God. But I think that's the exciting bit about it. Like, there's just a central location on any given Saturday that the league's on, that 5 at the minute, 6 next year, different groups of people get together and enjoy the sport. And like, that's where it all starts, isn't it? Like, that's so exciting. For like, even if you think of someone who started at the age I did, someone who's 6, they get to go and watch good basketball in front of them, like decent competitive basketball, not just on the TV anymore. Like, that's really exciting, and I can say that could only grow the sport, really, having that exposure right in front of you. So it's great. Very proud that it's happening. I've had nothing to do with it, obviously, but it's been very, very exciting to see that.
I don't know about that one.
Our wee patch of the world starting its own league. Like, that's exciting.
Absolutely. No, totally agree.
How does that make you,
all that?
listening into that, Danny, how does that make you kind of feel? Because obviously you have had a massive part in terms of bringing that league together. How does that make you feel to hear 2 people, one from the opposite end, he's in Spain, playing pro ball, and then...
I was in space at first. I was like, flip, he's done well to get to space from where...
Can I see tears in your eyes there, Danny? Huh?
Only one a year. That's all it's allowed. No, listen, it's to be fair, it's probably goes back to what I said earlier in terms of it takes a lot of iron for a lot of people and the community pulling together, absolutely. And whether that's like I said, committee level, player level, coaching level, whatever, it takes people to buy into that. And I think it's brilliant. And actually, obviously, it's nice. I know you just said our little patch. I was Englishman, but our little patch, 100% agree. You know, absolutely. You know, it's different, but I think it opens the doors to a lot of other things as well. And one of the things that me and Phil say, it's only a small part of the journey. It's only a tiny part of what we've done so far. I think it opens the doors to other things, evening games, you know, things like that, where we haven't really tested the water in these areas at all. Or because you're not travelling flights 3, 4, 5 hours, you know, evening games is totally a viable thing. Another different little caveats, you know. So there's things we can totally do moving forward. And like I said, one of the challenges for me as Phil, I suppose, moving forward, is keeping things fresh. But we've that many ideas that I think we've probably got an itinerary of things going for at least 25 years, so we'll be alright for a while.
yeah, 100%. You may do, but no, I'm only kidding. But we are serious about continuing the development and keeping it. Probably that's the most word that we would, probably the biggest used word that we would have. Keeping things fresh and making sure that, you know, people have things to engage in, because we all know that, you know, things can become a bit stagnant, you know, whenever you pat yourself in the back and go, good job, whether that's running a league, becoming an athlete, being a chairman. You know, as soon as you start to think, or even being a coach, as soon as you start to think you're doing a good job, that's whenever you're heading south. You need to keep kicking on each time and progressing. And one interesting thing that James talked about there was the opportunity for, you know, young kids to come along and watch these games at Northern Ireland. And I suppose that kind of runs on to another kind of question I had about the kind of growth in the club that you've already had, we've talked about, but, you know, the future of the club, you know, the growth of the club, where do you see that going, Michael?
Definitely a junior section in the next year or so. And we've got some parents inquiring about that, but it's just having the right infrastructure in place before, you know, we move into that, because we want to do it right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's definitely being looked at.
Yeah, and that's.
I think you've got.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Go ahead, Danny. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just you've got a good base to go from as well, because obviously actually one of your players actually runs a wheelie active in the same venue. So there's a brilliant opportunity for crossover there, which is lovely. Yeah, that player texted me and said, "Can I join the club?" I was like, "Yes, absolutely, of course you can." Brilliant. And I just think that crossover's there for whenever that time is right. But I think you're right; it's got to be when the time's right. You know, it can't be a forced thing. Because if it's a forced thing and the time is not right, I spoke about timing a couple of times, just in sport in general, being crucial. It's exactly the same for the clubs having the junior section. It's got to be right. So the stuff's got to be there. Yeah.
But a lot of it as well is time for for the committee, time for the coaches, time for that infrastructure, and it's just having the right people in place.
No, totally agree.
No, we couldn't agree anymore. Like, we've talked about this between James, Danny, and whoever the club person's been, and that is something that's becoming more prevalent, in terms of the development of the female game. And we haven't even touched upon that, that you would probably have the biggest demographic of females within the wheelchair basketball kind of clubs that we have, and you haven't even touched the court yet. So a lot of your ladies are coming along to the development group that we have kind of running on a Monday night. So that's phenomenal too. You guys just seem to be growing in different areas, and it's amazing to see. And that from a junior perspective, that's something that hearts to me, and it's very, very good for me to hear that the clubs are all kind of banding together and looking at the same type of focus in terms of developing the juniors. And Danny's 100% correct. Tapping into those progressive hubs are going to be key in terms of bringing players across to your club and giving them a good introduction into the sport of wheelchair basketball. But what do you think that kind of needs? If you talked about infrastructure, what is it you're kind of planning on developing? Is it from a coach perspective, or is it just a matter of getting all the ducks in a row and working with Danny to make sure that's a safe space for young people to come into the club?
Safeguarding is a big thing, making sure that that's all put in place, and also coaches. And it's having the coaches trained up, and that's something that we need to look at, in the very near future. But it's definitely going to happen. We need to look at that progression, with the youth, because there's the gap within the North Down area where they have the wheelie active, and then there's the gap, and then us. So. Yeah, it's something that we're all aware of, and it's on our radar, and it's going to happen. Yeah, no,
100%. And then hopefully the Bangor Bulls will be able to develop a player like James. James come through the system at what age were you whenever you first started at the Knights?
I was 6. Yeah.
Potentially, we could end up with a young Bangor Bulls in the same position that James is in.
100%. See, if it was back when I was 6, I wouldn't mind sitting in Gran Canaria right this moment.
yeah. I don't know if you can motivate a 6-year-old with. Don't worry, one day you'll be sitting on the beach. You'll be having a great. Well, maybe I don't know. Can't remember what I cared about when I was 6. But how many out of the people you have at the club at the minute? What's the sort of divide between people that could play, like young enough to play juniors, and the older ones like us? Is it like, do you have a fairly even split?
There's probably about 3 or 4 there at the moment that would be, they could be sitting on a youth team.
Happy days.
But as I said, we've had to tell people that that it's not available at present, but it's going to be in the near future, and they're ones that are progressing through the wheelie active.
Brilliant.
So it's something that needs to happen.
And then we did touch upon briefly the 17 players at the club, and that's an unbelievable number to get in the less of the year to be able to recruit like that. Can you give us an idea? You did talk about people being from the local area, but what are the avenues of recruitment, player recruitment that you're using from a club perspective?
It's probably a lot of it's been friends, and and just passing the information on to other people to make them aware that there's a club in their local area. also, you know, we've been advertising through Musgrave and through other rehab centres, you know. So it's from many different ways, to be honest, Phil, you know. But the word's getting out there, and that's great, and that's what we're looking for, you know.
And I suppose from a player recruitment, we hear that quite a lot. You know, friends of a family member. You know, somebody spoke to James's mum and, you know, and dad originally whenever he went along the basketball. But I suppose the stuff that me and Danny have tried to work on is working a bit more from the health professionals' perspective. So trying to touch base with OTs and physios and make sure that, you know, they're helping the kind of cause as well and pushing people into the kind of team sport direction. Because everybody knows about swimming and everybody knows it's a great recreational kind of sport and activity. But like from a team sport perspective, that's the thing that we're kind of interested in, and developing people's fundamentals, you know, from that standpoint. So that'd be fair to say, Danny, isn't it? That played probably about a good 6 to 8 months of work for us.
Absolutely.
Not so long ago working with those guys.
No, 100%. That was probably starting point for us to working. First kind of 6 months for me getting to know Northern Ireland, basically by hospitals and physio units and things like that. But I think the other thing as well, you said about word of mouth there. Every time you look at stats about advertising the club, it always comes out top, which is kind of counterintuitive because you see progression in things like Zoom and Skype and Facebook and Instagram and all these things. Actually, word of mouth still seems to be the strongest correlation. And I think the other thing as well is that we've spoken about this numerous times, that awareness around who can play. And that, you know, I always challenge your clubs and say, look, you know, are you really tapping into kind of that awareness? Are you making sure that sort of people are aware of who you are, who you can kind of have in the club and want to have in the club and that kind of thing? So I think that's the other side of it as well, is the awareness around the wider sport and the parameters within the sport around classification and things like that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I suppose my kind of last sort of question for me is, when you look at your badge, I'm going to steal your you keep doing this on me, Danny, but steal it again.
Steal away.
It's an absolute belter. But when you are looking at your badge at the Bulls, obviously from a chairman's perspective, got a slightly different take on this question. What's the you know, how do you feel about the club, and then what's the vision for the club?
I feel proud to be a member of it. You know, it's not just it's a club, it's a family. You know, there's, you know, we all look after ourselves or look after each other. You know, it's bigger than a club, and I feel proud to be a part of it, and to, you know, I suppose the way I look at it, it's going to get bigger, better, and we're going to beat the Knights.
Everybody's
I don't know about that.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah, but well, I suppose that's back to that competitive thing, isn't it? You know, how you're going to feel about next year. You know, have you any kind of personal thoughts in your head about, have you been looking forward to putting on that vest for the first time?
Yeah, can't wait. We'll probably get stuffed the first few, but sure, it's a learning process, isn't it? You know, and hopefully somebody will have a few pound underneath their mattress and we can buy a few better players and stuff like that there, you know, and see how it goes.
Sorry, he's at you.
I've already promised myself to the Lakers because their kit's nice, but I'll see what the playing kit looks like next year.
What's your market?
That's what I said. You're talking about 25 years of you two having ideas. I'll be done playing in the big leagues by then. So God knows. I'll be keeping Knights going. As soon as you guys get close to Knights, I'll get rid of all this stuff and come back and open.
Brilliant.
Well, this is actually the training kit. So the players' kit's going to be mostly yellow and blue stripes. Because I think some of the other clubs were saying it was too close to theirs. So, you know, we're gonna have a training top and a play, you know, a team top. So.
Here's the thing as well. Like you say about the initial first few games will be tough. They probably will. But actually, there's 2 points on that. First of all, James said about and Phil said about the process. That's the same with the league. No different to coaching. It'll be about the process. You can maybe lose 4 games, but actually, if you improve from game 1 to game 4, take the process, forget the scorecard. Second of all, at the minute, obviously there's a bit of a time scale of where clubs have come in. So generally, as a rule of thumb, clubs that come in newer generally takes a while to adjust and win games and things like that. But actually, fast forward 5-10 years, you're never ever going to look back and that time scale is never going to be a thing again, apart from when you first join. Yeah. So, it's one of those things where short term, maybe over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, maybe we'll feel that. Moving forward, it won't be like that. I mean, look at cricket clubs, for example. One of my cricket clubs was established in the 1800s. There's no way my other cricket club look at next door cricket club and go, well, you were 10 years after us, so it makes a big impact. Obviously, that's gone. That phase has happened. So that's another thing as well. In the short term, yes, there might be a bit of a timeline lag, but as you're moving forward, it'll be just a thing that the clubs are the clubs, and there's no starting point. Yeah,
I suppose, Michael, we've been through a lot of stuff there, and it's been really, really interesting to hear. Just before we kind of sign off from a club focus perspective, what evenings do you train on?
Friday evenings, 7:30 to 8:30. Arrive at 7:15.
At the Bangor Aurora, is that correct? Yeah.
Bangor Aurora, downstairs in the hall.
And you obviously have a Facebook page, clearly.
We do indeed. Bangor Bulls, and I think it is. Yeah. So like and share.
Love it.
That should be your motto. That should be your motto for your club. But it's been, I don't know if the guys have any other questions to ask, but it's been a real pleasure to have you on. Guys, if you got anything further, you kind of...
I do.
That you want to ask, Michael?
I just think you should try and figure out what like and share is in Latin and put it on your club.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, what does that mean? It's like...
Like us and share us. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, class.
I'm good. Go ahead, Dan.
No, that's me. Obviously, I do have questions quite naturally, which we all know now.
On the Danny's, what is it? Lightning round? Is that what we're calling it, boys? We've got the lightning round coming up. So Michael, Danny's got some questions for you. So Danny, kick it with the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest with you, if by the end of this there's no merchandise that says we love Danny's quickfire round, mouse mats, t-shirts, that kind of thing, there's something seriously going wrong. And actually, I'll probably consider quitting this podcast if that does happen or doesn't happen. So, 10 questions, Michael, real fast. Okay, number one. Best moment. Oh, he's got answers. Sorry.
Dear.
Sorry. Very good.
He's breaking the fire round.
Okay. Best moment in sport.
Probably David Healy scoring against England in 2005.
Okay.
That's one for you there, Danny.
It's been a lovely show. I'd like to know. Funniest team member?
Funniest team member?
Yeah.
Probably Claire and Kirsty when they're having a wee fight trying to get the ball. That makes me laugh.
I like that. Hardest trainer?
Probably Brian.
Okay. Toughest opponent? Obviously, it's going to be a tough one, but who do you think it'll be moving forward?
Toughest the Knights.
Yeah. Sporting hero?
Sporting Mike Tyson.
Nice. A fact about yourself?
Fact about myself.
Everybody struggles with it.
It is. It's a tough one.
I'm not a fighter.
Into a basketball. I love that one. Aim for the future.
Yeah, make the Bulls the best they can be.
Brilliant. A quote that you live by or you like.
Yeah, move on. Next.
Every week. One live sports event that you want to see, have seen.
Live sports event that I've seen.
Or want to see.
I've never seen I support Chelsea. Never seen a Chelsea match in my life, so I want to do that.
Good shout.
I'd give it a miss at the minute.
Last one. What excites you about wheelchair basketball in Northern Ireland?
Yeah, the league. The growth of the league. Fantastic. To be honest, I would love to see it like, the way, over the past 10, 15, 20 years of the Belfast, Giants, even the way the ice hockeys went, big Canadian, companies and whatnot pushing that, and getting the sort of crowd that they're getting. I would love to see the, wheelchair basketball like that.
Great shout. I love it. Like I said to you, merchandise should be due at the end of this podcast series. So yeah, Phil, that's me.
Yeah, I hope you've informed Judith that you're going to be buying that for the podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
Under your wages.
But budget's not big enough.
No, cheers, guys. Thanks very much once again. It's been a real pleasure, Michael. Thank you for coming on and agreeing to kind of like share everything from a club perspective with us.
Yeah.
You're clearly doing an unbelievable job.
Thank you for the opportunity. Been a great experience.
No, great to have you on board. Absolutely.
Cheers, buddy. Cheers. And again, Donny, James, thanks very much for your input, boys, and the sort of questions. I know I like to talk quite a lot, so you keep me right every week. But guys out there listening, this is going to be our last week in terms of our club focus. And we're going to be moving on to other kind of areas within the sport and generally within disability sport and I as well. So keep an eye out on our DSNI social media platforms for the podcast, obviously. And then our coaches have been putting out some unbelievable workouts from like low, medium, high intensity kind of workouts to keep you all busy and active at home. So please do keep looking out on those on our DSNI social media outlets. And then I suppose to do the whole serious thing, we all know the reason why we're in it, but try not to talk too much about it on the podcast because, you know, we're here to have a bit of crack and to have a bit of an idea of what goes on in the sport and behind it. But on a serious note, please stick to the advice from the Public Health Agency, folks. Continue to wash your hands, stay 2 meters apart whenever you're out and about. And we all know that social distancing is saving lives at the moment. So continue to do that. And I suppose from me, James, guys, thanks very much for coming on every week, pretty much up to now. And to everybody else out there, stay active, stay at home, and stay safe, guys. Peace.
Yeah.
Look after yourselves. Cheers, guys.
Yes, everyone look after yourselves.